Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about the OCS Swim QUAL. There are a lot of people who have questions about it and it's really not that big of a deal. What I will say, however, is that if you are not prepared for it, it might seem a little bit scary, but even when you actually do it, it's really not that bad. There is technically a second swim qual that you can do while you're at OCS in addition to the one that's required for everybody. The second swim qual is optional while you're at OCS, but if you are a surface warfare officer or if you are a student naval aviator or a naval flight officer, you'll be required to do that at some point during flight school, and you can knock it out while you're at OCS if you have time during candidate officer phase. But what I'm going to talk about in this video is just the swim qual that everybody has to take. There are 3 portions of the swim qual. The first is just them explaining everything to you. And one of the things that I really like about OCS is that while they do have a little bit of a mental game with certain things, when it comes to things that you actually have to qualify for the Navy, like the gun chute, the swim qual, they are really good about explaining every single thing in detail. So when you do the swim qual, they're not going to do anything crazy that they didn't tell you about already. So they're not going to just come up and yank you down, but they will tell you every single thing that's going to happen during the swim qual. That way you don't have to worry about any surprises. In addition to that, they also explain all of the safety measures that they have in place. They have people in the pool with floaties and people who are ready to come save you if it turns out that you really can't swim at all. That's the first part, is just them explaining everything to you. It includes you getting changed and putting on your swimsuit or whatever. So they have everything kind of all set up for you really nicely. And this happens during in-doc phase. I'm pretty sure it happens during the second week of training, if I'm not mistaken. But it might have changed because they changed the program from a 12-week program to a 13-week program. So it might be at a different time in training. Should still happen during in-doc phase though. The second portion of this is actually broken down further into 3 distinct parts. The first part is the abandoned ship procedure, and that's where you have to climb up onto a platform. It's not too high. I want to say it's probably 15 feet approximately, and you climb up the ladder in an orderly fashion. They explain how to climb up the ladder and all of that. Every single thing that you have to do, they tell you exactly how it's going to go down. You walk up onto the platform and you're going to cross your arms and you're going to plug your nose and then you're going to squeeze your butt cheeks. And you're just, when they give you the signal, you're going to plug your nose, clench your butt cheeks, hold your breath, and walk off the platform. You're not jumping, you're just walking off the platform. Once you have walked off the platform, you're going to land in the water and you're going to immediately go to the side of the pool and hold on to the edge, and you're going to wait until everyone else has done the abandoned ship procedure. And they're going to do it in a way where they break it down into groups. So you're going to be in a group of say 10 or 15 people who all do the abandoned ship while everybody else sits and just waits on the benches. They have these little bleacher looking benches that are off to the side, and that's where everyone just sits and hangs out while they wait for everyone else to go and do it. Once everyone in your group has done the abandoned ship procedure, you're going to move on to the second part of the second phase, which is the 5-minute float. I think if people are going to have a problem, the 5-minute float is where you'll actually see people have a problem. So the reason why is because for the 5-minute float, you can't swim. You're not allowed to actually move throughout the water, and people have difficulty staying still in the water and just floating there. You are allowed to move a little bit, and you have 2 options. You can either go on your back and spread your arms out. They'll explain like how you have to do it. You have to spread your arms out, or you can have your face in the water and you float like this, and every so often you and then go back. So you can choose to do it the dead man float style, or you can choose to do it on your back. I did it on my back and it was pretty comfortable and very calming. The thing is, if you end up moving too much, they might pull you from the pool, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna roll down into H Company. You do have to complete the swim qual before you graduate, And so if you are unable to complete the swim qual this first time that they take you to the pool, then what they'll do is they will have you go to the pool occasionally. Instead of going to PT in the morning, you'll be at the pool a couple of times a week, and they will train you how to swim and float and all of that stuff. Now, the next portion after you do the float, and it's like I said 5 minutes, is you have to actually swim. And I don't remember the exact distance that you have to swim, but the way that the pool is set up is it's kind of in an L shape, and so you just swim from one end of the L to the other. To swim from one end to the other, you will have the option to choose from a couple of different styles of swimming, and they tell you all of the different styles. I thought that I was just gonna do kind of a freestyle type, just the one arm and then the other arm, but for that one you have to actually keep your face in the water the whole time except when you're coming up to breathe. And so when I started to swim, they were like, no, stop, because apparently I wasn't doing it right, and they were like, just swim on your back, because they didn't want to interrupt the flow of everything. And swimming on your back is an option. It's kind of like a frog swim. You just kind of like move your arms up and down, and you move your legs open and closed. And so I ended up just having to do the frog swim, but that's just because they didn't like my freestyle. After you finish the swimming portion through the pool, then you've completed the second part of the swim qual. The third part of the swim qual is going to consist of 2 different parts. So first, everyone goes and puts on a set of navy blue ship's coveralls, and you're going to be taught how to use those coveralls as a flotation device. Everyone goes and puts those on. You have to either use the coveralls as a flotation device by blowing into them, or you can slap the water into the coveralls. So the first thing that you have to do is everybody lines up, and then each person in the first row steps from the pool's edge into the pool. They hold still for a second, and then they start filling their coveralls with air, either by blowing into them or by slapping the air into them. Once you have gotten enough air into the coveralls, they're going to kind of bulge in the back, and they're going to kind of float a little bit. Then the second part of it is you have to use the now inflated coveralls to swim to the edge of the pool, and then you get out, and that's the end of your swim qual. So it's really not that bad. Like I said, some people during the 5-minute float, if they have trouble, then that's going to be the part where it actually shows. And there were a couple of people, I think it was like 2 of them, who had to get pulled from the float portion of it, but then they were able to go back and do a little bit of time in the pool just to get a little bit more comfortable. The thing is, as naval officers, it's expected that you will be on a ship at some point in your life, and there is the possibility that you might go overboard. And so it's a requirement of the Navy. Now, in the grand scheme of things, will floating in the water for 5 minutes be sufficient to save you? Maybe. I don't know how long it takes for a ship to turn around after they've realized that somebody has gone overboard. I don't know how all of that works. This is the absolute bare minimum basic swim qual that you'll have to do while you're in the Navy. When I was doing the very first portion where they're explaining everything, I got nervous. It is totally normal to feel extremely nervous when you're doing this, even if you're a good swimmer already. So for me, for example, I've lived in Hawaii for years before moving to the East Coast and then eventually joining the Navy. And in the waters of Hawaii, I spent many days just floating on the water. So a 5-minute float would not have normally scared me. But as they were describing the swim qual and describing the float, I started to think about it. And I thought, well, the pool water is colder, and the pool water doesn't have any salt in it. And so I'm going to be less buoyant in the pool than I was in the nice, warm, salty waters of Hawaii, right? And so I got in my head and I started to think, well, what if I get in the water and I don't float? But those concerns were totally unfounded and it was totally fine. The float was not bad. It was actually very calm and pretty soothing. Somebody did kind of bump into me. A pro tip for anybody who is concerned about it: as long as you take in a deep breath, your lungs will act as kind of almost a flotation device. The thing that you need to focus on is just using your abs to keep your legs up. That way they don't drift down and then you kind of sink down, you know, if you're going to do it on your back. But if you're on your back and you spread your arms out and you take deep breaths, you'll float pretty well. And if you don't, it's really not that big of a deal. The pool is not a rollable event. That's everything for the swim qual. I will say that they are going to tell you that this is not the last time that you will see the pool, and that's true. That's all that I can say about that. Don't be afraid of any of the events at OCS, because all of the events at OCS are very well controlled, and usually the only ones that are causing any chaos are the candidates themselves. Just know that the people at OCS, they've got you. They have safety people there and they will keep you safe. So that's all I have on the swim qual. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns. I will do my best to answer any questions in the comments below, or I might just make another video to address them. All right, I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.